Up next, we have Mayur Dadar, Senior Vice President and Chief Data Scientist at Flipkart, who's joining us today to moderate a very interesting and insightful panel discussion on the topic, reaching the next 500 million and how Flipkart R&D is helping us get there. Let me quickly introduce Mayur for those of you who haven't met him yet. In his current role as Chief Data Scientist, Mayur leads a large team of data scientists who are working on building the most advanced e-commerce landscape in India. And prior to joining Flipkart, he worked with Google as a research scientist for over 12 years. He also holds a doctorate in computer science from Stanford University. He is very well known in the industry for his technical leadership, his pragmatic, result-oriented approach towards machine learning and systems design, and experience in the internet consumer-related challenges. For the audience members, please feel free to use the Q&A tab at the bottom of your screens to submit your questions, and we'll have Mayur and the panelists answer them towards the end of the segment. Welcome, Mayur. Welcome to our panelists. The screen is all yours.
Thank you, Ambika. Thank you. And again, a very warm welcome and a good morning to our audience in the US. It's really a pleasure to be here with all of you, and thank you for your precious time. It's an honor to be on this panel with 5 very distinguished and very talented co-panelists from Flipkart. So let me introduce you to all of you in no particular order. Let me start with Nikesh. Nikesh, maybe you can wave your hand or say hi to audience so that they know who you are. Nikesh comes with a very deep background in natural language processing, spanning 18 years of his career in industry and research. He did his MS from Carnegie Mellon and a PhD from Johns Hopkins, and he has worked at various AI companies in US and India, such as Cosmix and Walmart Labs. At Flipkart, Nikesh leads our data science efforts for machine translation, NLP, and conversational AI technologies. Welcome, Nikesh. Next on, I would like to introduce Meet Jariwala. Meet is a seasoned product leader with more than 10 years of product management experience, building software and hardware products in iconic companies like Motorola, Pandora, Hike Messenger, and Flipkart. He got his bachelor's in electrical engineering from University of Illinois at Chicago and spent the first 10 years of his professional life as a software developer and in business development roles. In his current role at Flipkart, he leads the product team, which is responsible for bringing new users and new customers to Flipkart. Welcome, Meet. Next, I would like to introduce Amit. Amit, or Amit Z, as he is known in the company, is the Vice President of Product and Engineering and head of the Next 200 Million Customers, or Next 200M group at Flipkart. In his 8 years at Flipkart, he has built several businesses from ground up, including Flipkart's advertising platform and the grocery business. At Next 200 Million, he's responsible for bringing on new users and new customers to Flipkart. Next up, welcome Amit. Next up, I would like to introduce Nishant. Nishant is a senior product manager at Flipkart and is currently working on building products for the next 200 million users. He has been associated with Flipkart for 5 years while solving for business growth using user experience as a lever. He has also worked with Intel for 2 years before his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad and holds a BTech degree in electrical engineering from IIT Kanpur. Welcome, Nishant. Finally, I would love to introduce Yamini. Yamini is a seasoned user researcher with 10 plus years of experience in user experience research. With a background in psychology and cultural anthropology from the London School of Economics, she is deeply invested in understanding how technology and global trends are understood, decoded, and contextualized by consumers across geographies and socioeconomic strata. At Flipkart, as a user research lead, she's tasked to understand the next 200 million users and how the on-platform experience can be simplified for them. Welcome, everyone. Again, it's a real pleasure to have all of you on the panel. And we don't have much time, so let me just dive into our questions. Right? I think the topic for this panel is about the next 500 million customers and how can technology help bring them on our platform, right? Let me begin with Amit. Amit, this first question is for you. how big is the e-commerce industry in India? I know we heard a little bit about it earlier from Jay as well, but no harm in going over it again and giving us a little bit more details.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that question, Mayur. If you look at India, India is a vast market and a diverse market, as diverse as it can get. India has about 1.3 billion people. And if you look at internet penetration, India has about 800 to 900 million internet users. And if we really look at internet users who have 3G or better services, we have about 700 million active internet users. And if you look at e-commerce penetration, we have about 100 million customers, right? So there is a significant headroom for growth across the board, right? From internet penetration perspective, from 4G and above speeds penetration perspective, and from users who are using casual services versus, let's say, doing online shopping or doing e-commerce transactions. There's a significant headroom for growth in India. And the unique characteristics of these 500, 600 million users who are not shopping online are they're from tier 2, tier 3 cities. They are largely non-English speaking people. In fact, internet users in India are now more in rural areas than urban areas, right? And that inflection point was crossed sometime early this year, right? So a very different set of users. Our vision at Flipkart is to transform e-commerce using technology. And as we all know, in order for us to do it at this scale, we have to fundamentally think disruptive and innovative ways to bring all the benefits of e-commerce, service selection, pricing, value, everything, right? Convenience to this set of customers using power of technology. And that's what we are focused here at Flipkart.
Thank you, Amit. Indeed, I mean, I feel that we are really lucky to be in a market like this. I mean, other than China, I think these kinds of numbers, I don't think any other market can talk about, 900 million, 700 million, and how easily we take for granted, right? This kind of a market size. Yes, Jay also mentioned about that gap between internet users and people who are actually transacting on e-commerce platform, right? So the next question goes to Meet then. Meet, how will we get this growth in e-commerce, right? I mean, how will we get that next wave of customers? Who are they? Can you tell us a little bit about where the growth for e-commerce will come from, not just the internet users?
Sure, Mayur. I think Jay alluded this earlier when he opened the evening tonight, which is there are two global macro events that has played out over the last 3-4 years. One is you look at smartphones and how smartphones have dramatically dropped in price. You can get a very feature-rich, hardware specs rich smartphone now less than $100 in India. That coupled with the internet data prices becoming really, really affordable has given this boom of lots and lots of users who suddenly now have an access to internet, and they are experiencing internet for the very first time with a smartphone in their hand. And truly that is driving a lot of growth in the entire internet e-commerce space. Now, what's happening is for a lot of these users, social apps, as well as messaging apps, as well as video entertainment apps are very sort of first natural choice for them. Right after that, it's the e-commerce apps that are really getting their attention. One important enabler, a multiplier that is playing on in India market is we are really a social country. And we have lots and lots of communities of people. And we, as being social, we share a lot of information. What ends up happening is there's a lot of information that people learn in terms of your neighbor getting a new smartphone, your neighbor getting a new blender grinder for their kitchen. And that gets the curiosity going. And that word of mouth really works really, really well in a market like India. And that is what gets a lot of those new users to come visit Flipkart and really browse for the first time on e-commerce platform like ours. Now, what's really unique about these users, which is very important to understand, is their digital experiences are not as rich as maybe some of us who have sort of been using internet enabled devices from last 8 to 10 years. And that coupled with very, very big influence from their offline market. These consumers have this understanding of how the world is around them, and they expect that familiarity to be available in the online world. And this is a very interesting problem statement and a challenge that we as market leaders in India, e-commerce market leaders in India, have taken heads on. And I'm really sort of looking forward to sort of bringing that familiarity for them in the online world, making this online commerce experience work for them instead of this users really trying to learn new ways to shop. But that's one of the unique challenges that sort of we are grappling at Flipkart.
Excellent. Thanks for that context about the users, right? I think, Yamini, I'm going to turn to you for my next question. We've heard from both Amit and Meet a little bit about who these next users are, right? And obviously, they look different, they feel different, right? Because they are from tier 2, tier 3 cities. Their first experience of internet was through their mobile, maybe through a different language as well, right? They're very, very comfortable doing offline commerce, but online is their first, right? So, and obviously the data shows that they're still not comfortable transacting online, right? There's a big gap that Jay also talked about earlier. Yeah. You've done a lot of research about this user group. Can you walk us through what are some of the challenges to get these customers comfortable and to get them to adopt online shopping and come onto our platform?
Of course, Mayur. Thanks a lot for this question. I think I'll take this conversation forward and try and paint a little picture for our audience of these this customer cohort. Like everyone's been talking about how entrenched the offline ecosystem for these users is at this point of time, and of course, it has a lot of bearing on how they expect the online ecosystem and environment to also work for them. So now imagine a user in these tier 2, tier 3 towns, and in an offline scenario, this person wants to buy a mobile phone. Now he'll in particular possibly go to a store that they've been frequently going to in the past as well. So they know the storekeeper, the store manager there, and probably and he goes with a certain unsurety of what kind of phone he wants to buy. He has budget constraints and he's been saving up for this and he's confused. But there is a familiar face waiting for him who would help him handhold the entire decision making of buying this phone, help him arrive at the right model for him, probably throw in some freebies at that on the spot to the person, also organize a little bit of very quick financing so that it's easy on his pocket. And all of that is done at the store itself within like a matter of 20 to 30 minutes. And this person also walks out of the store feeling very assured that if something goes wrong, there is a store, there is a person that I can go back to. Now, if we imagine the same person trying to do this on an online platform, this person sees a plethora of options in front of them and he's confused. There's nobody to assist and help him validate his choices and help him with the decision making. He's unclear whether there is financing that is possible or not possible. Does he have the required payment modes to get that affordability attached to his buying? He's unsure what kind of support he'll get after he places the order on that platform. On top of all of this complication of actually arriving at that decision, he also has various unknown online shopping constructs like filter and cart and checkout that he's never heard of, and he has to make sense of it. And that leads to the next set of challenges that we see in these users, which is this extreme and deep anxiety that is so visible when they're interacting on these on online shopping platforms. Because I can actually give an example. In one of my recent studies, almost all the users that we were speaking to freaked out the moment they reached the early steps of the checkout funnel and they saw an enabled CTA which said continue, because they freaked out thinking if they touch it, they'll place an order by mistake. And in reality, they were actually 2 to 3 steps away from placing that order. So that's the level of anxiety that we witness with these users, which also kicks in with English not being their first language. And these are the moments when we as a platform realize that lack of comprehension on just basic e-com journey constructs are such big and serious hurdles for them, because they feel it's like a task, it's something that they really need to like up their game and learn something about. Maybe I'll take half a minute bit more to just talk about another thing that I feel that one of the challenges that I also have seen with the users, which also is actually a very hard thing to control, is also the preconceived notions that they enter with on an online shopping platform, right? And most often these notions are on hearsay. They're not really coming from first-hand experience. Let me give you an example. Like quite a many years back in India, there were some few instances of some people receiving soaps or bricks instead of phone on some platforms. Now, there were very few instances, and like Meet was talking about how social we are as a community, but they were everywhere. They were on chai conversations, they were on WhatsApp chats, they were on Facebook posts. So till date, when I meet a user in one of these cities, everyone seems to know that person, and it's almost like this mass hysteria that has kind of created like a trust deficit that is so tough to even control. And that's another very big challenge that I think we all have kind of realized, that there is a need to create that trust throughout the shopping journey for these users so that they feel comfortable as well, and to adopt online shopping. So yeah, those are my 2 cents on your question.
Thank you so much, Yamini. I mean, this was really, really insightful. I think it helps us build an empathy with who these customers are, right? I mean, I used to think that it's largely about a language gap or this thing, right? But it's much, much more beyond that. You talked about various aspects like building trust, helping them with other aspects like financing and so on, post-order service. So there are so many aspects of it. And in fact, I could so associate with the narrative that you're talking, because very recently I bought a mobile phone for a relative of mine, and she's a senior citizen living in a different city. And first of all, I mean, obviously, I helped her, I placed the order, but even after the phone was delivered to her, the first thing she told me she did is, like, in 1 or 2 days, she went to that mobile shoppy kind of a guy and got the phone set up, right? So it's not just about, people from tier 2 cities and so on, right? She's an educated person, she understands English, but she's a senior citizen, she's not all that familiar with technology. And so I could so associate with what you were saying. Anyway, let me turn to Nishant for my next question, right? Nishant, you've heard about all these challenges, and there's a trust deficit, there's a language barrier. As a product manager, right? What can we do? What kind of product features can we build to make these people more comfortable on our platform, and to get them to start transacting? I know it's a tall order, right? It's not like there's one feature that's going to magically cover all of these aspects, and there'll be many of them. But maybe you could walk us through some of the top few things that you are addressing as a product manager to build this, to bridge this gap.
Yeah, thanks. Sure, Mayur. Let me try to answer this for our audience. So we have identified 3 levers that we feel are essential to enable these users to be able to shop on a platform: accessibility, assistance, and value. Now, value has been very central to Flipkart since day one in whatever we do, be it our selection, pricing, offering, affordable payment options. And hence, as a part of this group, we end up focusing on the rest 2 A's. Coming to the accessibility part of it, we very, very strongly believe that the 3 V's, voice, Varnak, and video, which you also spoke about, are going to be very fundamental for making any digital platform accessible. And hence, we are investing very, very heavily on building these 3 horizontal platforms, which are going to sit on top of all the product which we are trying to build for this user today, and eventually we'll end up building for tomorrow as well. Let's take an example of the voice platform which we have built. Using that, what we do is we allow our users to be able to search on our platform in the most natural way using their voice. And the ASR and NLP models which we have built with that are actually setting the standard for the industry as far as e-commerce is concerned. On the language front, again, we allow our users to access our app, experience our app in 11 different languages. That actually covers 92% of our target cohort in terms of the preferred language they speak or understand. And on top of it, we are investing pretty much a lot in terms of building those ML translation platform, which is going to leapfrog us in terms of giving that speed, that scale to do all this in a sustainable way, where we can become more inclusive, irrespective of the language users speak as such on our platform. Now, coming to the assistance part of it, I would like to talk about the two products, which again Jay hinted on in his presentation. The first one is a reseller commerce platform, which allows these small aspiring entrepreneurs like homemakers to actually use the power of the social circle, the understanding of their preferences, the understanding of their choices and needs, and actually help them select the right product for their need and help them buy help them in the process of buying that in that journey, right? And in turn, of course, make some commission and money out of it. How it helps even the buyers as such is that now for the first time in e-commerce ecosystem as such, they have a similar one person like they used to are having when it comes to offline shopping, kirana shop and all this, the kirana bhaiya, who they can go to whenever there's any issue as such, right? And this just brings that extra amount of trust and confidence in them and nudges them to be able to go and place the order on the platform. Now, this is a product where we are trying to go towards the user where the users are and assist them. But what about the millions and millions of users who are already coming on our conventional platform, Flipkart app and website, which Amit talked about, which Meet talked about, and are not able to buy for all the variety and right reason which Ramini mentioned. For them, what we are trying to do is we are trying to build AI-led conversation assistant with a vision that it being just a tap away for whoever who needs it on our platform and whenever they need it for. As a part of that, we are building products that will allow them not only to search the product in, let's say, most natural voice-led way with their most understandable language, but also nudge them, help them to be able to, narrow down their selections and shortlist few products which satisfy their need. And then on top of it, once they have done that, of course, they have questions about the product. They have questions about the offerings and the services that comes around with that product, which Flipkart provides. And hence, we have also built a Q&A bot, which essentially does the same, that a user can come and ask their questions about the product. And we use all the information available to us and give that information back and answer back to the user. So now with the systems, what we are trying to do is we know, as Yamini mentioned, there are a lot of turning points in the e-commerce shopping journey where we know that the online shopping journey and offline shopping journey actually diverges. And we are trying to use this assistance products and trying to bridge that gap for the user so that they feel more comfortable and more confident while shopping on the platform. And in turns, again, this ubiquitous nature of assistance, which we are thinking and envisioning, we believe is going to help them again have and instill that trust, which is just going to make them so comfortable to shop on our platform. Now, these are just a few products which we are working on. In the interest of time, I'm able to talk to you about, but hoping you get to know more about as the session progresses. Back to you, Mayur.
Thanks, Nishant. No, that's quite impressive, actually. I mean, obviously, we can talk about this for hours, but already you mentioned about so many touch points in terms of Shopsy, which is the reseller aspect, building trust. Then there is the various assistants. There is the vernacular component. I mean, there are a lot of techies in the audience, I'm guessing here, right? And I'm sure they are itching to know, how do we actually build this product, right? What is the technology that goes into it? What kind of AI ML goes into building these kinds of product features for these next 500 million users, right? So for that, I'm going to get to Nikesh. Nikesh, tell us, as a data scientist and as somebody who's leading the innovation in this space, what kind of technology enablers do you need to power these kinds of product features that Nishant was talking about? Do they exist in the market, or do we need to build them in-house? What is the innovation and R&D that is involved in that?
Sure, Mayur. I think these areas which Nishant talked about, right? Be it regional languages, be it conversational assistants, voice, and so on, right? They're very, very interesting from the technology point of view, right? And specifically from the context of Indian market, e-commerce, and so on, right? Let's take for regional languages, right? As Yamini mentioned, it is a basic factor, right, in building trust for the users. But if we were to provide all the Flipkart content in all the 11 Indian languages with millions of products, millions of reviews, it would take a lot of time to do this manually and will be very expensive as well. So we have to invest in building machine translation capabilities which basically are able to translate these automatically, and these models are built using training data, something which we call parallel corpora, right? A parallel corpora is basically the same sentence in English manually translated in Hindi, and millions of such sentences so that the machine can learn from it. I mean, there's a whole another area of how to get this data, right? Which is more relevant for our users, for our domain and so on, right? But once we have this data, there is a lot of work in the academic literature on machine translation. For example, when I was in my PhD, it was more around, it was evolving from rule-based methods to phrase-based machine translation models inspired from IBM's models and so on. And now it's more on the deep learning side, starting with RNN, LSTM, and latest ones being transformer-based models using attention-based mechanisms and so on, right? Which have gained a lot of ground, but we have to also invest in basic NLP models, right? For Indian languages, such as tokenizers, part of speech taggers, spell checkers. Even that building for Indian languages across these diverse Indian languages is very challenging, right? Let's take, for example, voice. Similarly, we have to invest a lot of in-house tech. In fact, we have acquired a company, Live.ai, right, which has accelerated our offerings in voice. We see a lot, I mean, changes in user behavior, right? There are a lot more voice queries, a lot more descriptive, a lot more longer. There is multiple speakers. Sometimes a buddy is helping the user, and the buddy is speaking, the user is speaking. It's an open setting, low network bandwidth, and so on, right? Hence, we need to solve for all of that. Similarly, in the assistance area, right? Building conversational assistants and so on, right? Yes, there are chatbots available today in the market and so on, right? But they need to work on top of the data, which is diverse for us, right? There is a lot of unstructured data. Answers may be present in specifications, in reviews, in Q&A. The reviews, the answers may be inconsistent with each other, what different users are saying. So how do we solve that and build it into the standard intent detection, passage retrieval models are some of the technological challenges we are solving to enable these products.
Wonderful. No, I mean, look, I hear you, right? And obviously there's a lot of work that is happening here. I was also very impressed to see the 11 languages that we have launched in, and the coverage that it gives us with respect to the Indian map and the population, right? But, just to play the devil's advocate there, right? I mean, many of the people in the audience have probably used a lot of translate tools, right? Coming from various large companies that are out there, right? And I have used them myself, right? So to me, it felt like translation is a solved problem, right? So why is it that you and your team are reinventing that wheel? I mean, are you doing that? Why doesn't this product just work for you out of the box, right? Tell us why you're doing that. Why are you building it in-house?
Yeah, that was the impression that we also had, right? I mean, we've been hearing from machine translation for a while now, right? And why don't we just take some of the open APIs available, off-the-shelf APIs, right? Whether it's Google Translate, Microsoft, even in fact, we even evaluated some of the startups, right, in the space, and use their offerings and so on, right? What is interesting is ultimately a model is as good as the data it is fed, right? And the data which has been fed to the machine translations API generally available is the public open domain data, right? Books, Wikipedia, and other things and so on. So when we in fact tried it on our data, right? The data from Indian users is very interesting. Of course, it's e-commerce data, but even in that, it's very noisy. It has spelling issues, there's grammatical mistakes and so on, right? So for example, even something as simple as if a user is typing like awesome product, great quality, right? Off-the-shelf machine translation tool will translate it as Badhiya Utpad, Badhiya Gudvata, right? In fact, I mean, whereas our Hindi users, we would just colloquial terms, we would understand बहुत बढ़िया product, अच्छी quality, right? Even, I mean, and you would see that, users would like to exaggerate things and so on, right? I mean, if you take something as simple as like mind-blowing product, right? You try one of the off-the-shelf APIs, you will see something like man udane wala utpad, right? So I think I mean, of course, these kind of things are not very phrases are not very heavily found in the open domain data, right? Even, I mean, something as basic as installation was late, right? Was delayed or whatever. What we would get when we were benchmarking these tools, APIs, we would see something like sthapna mein bahut der ho gayi. Now, it's probably perfectly valid for normal translations, right? but everybody will understand in Hindi, users will understand installation, right? Installation mein bahut der ho gayi is fine, right? So that's the challenge, right? We need e-commerce context. It's not just Hindi, it's colloquial Hindi, right? Which users understand. And for that, we had to invest in building in-domain data at scale. And we had to solve that through, of course, we had to seed some of our own manual data, but also innovate through data augmentation approaches, creating synthetic, noisy data sets to train these models and make the translation models robust to these. We, in fact, are working on cutting edge work over here with academic collaboration with IIT Patna, who's helping and innovate in some of these areas, and also continuing to think about how to cross these data hurdles. We realize that some of the Indian languages are similar. So can we build common multilingual models for these languages so that the data requirement is less? Can we operate at subword units, right? Such that the similarities between the languages can be shared. So all this, and hence such a heavy investment was required to solve this problem well across all Indian languages.
Excellent. So, yeah, I think that gives me a very good idea and an audience as well as to why we had to do this in-house, right? I really love that example about Man Udane Wala product. I think it'll make a great meme. Anyway, jokes apart, I think it is really great to see all the thought and the research that's gone into bringing these users online and also to get that trust, right? I think at this point, I would like to go to the audience and see if they have any questions to all our panelists. And I know that there are a few questions that have come there. So let me start with one of them. One of the users asks, what about computer vision, VR technology that like Google Lens to improve and make it the easiest way to order on Flipkart? I don't know, any one of you would like to take that question? I think we've talked a lot about language, NLP, and so on, right? And I think it's a fair question that as part of cognition, what about computer vision, virtual reality, and so on, right? What are our plans there?
Yeah, so maybe let me take that from a user perspective, right? See, as much as voice or the language is a natural interface, right? It is the vision and the camera capability that comes with every phone, right? I mean, India is a mobile phone-led internet market, and almost every mobile phone comes with a camera, right? And if you look at how the digital payment industry has really sort of transformed or got disrupted, I don't know how many of you have visited India recently, but now every single shop, all the way up to that vegetable vendor sitting on the street side, now has a QR code, right? And if you look at the interface through which the users actually use digital payments is actually camera, right? And we are very cognizant of that. And I think in the commerce context, we completely understand the power that it brings. And in fact, in that context, right, we have a very dedicated and focused initiative and a dedicated area called Flipkart Camera. In fact, in that space, we recently made a very compelling acquisition as well. And through that, we have been developing cutting edge stuff. In fact, just about a couple of days back, we announced a very strategic partnership with Snapchat in India. How could we use all their advancements in AR and bring all that goodness to driving commerce engagement on the intersection of both the platforms. Locally, I think some of the use cases that have obviously come up is how you can search products using your camera. And that is an initiative that we are actively sort of investing in. As well as I said, right, on the payment side, on, let's say, even some of the things, right? I think if you look at how can we help, let's say, first-time users understand how great quality, let's say, some of the fruits and vegetables that are being sold on the platform is, right? There is a potential of using camera as an interface and giving them very close sort of a look into the actual inventory that is going to get shipped to them. So we are looking at this very, very closely from a consumer perspective. From the platform perspective, I think we have been traditional, and maybe Mayur, you can talk more about how we have in the past used computer vision to, let's say, automatically derive catalog attributes, right? When seller uploads their catalog imagery and all of that. I think we have done very deep investments in that, which have dramatically improved the lives of our sellers, as well as through the data generation, it has aided the end customers to discover the products that they're looking for, right? All with the help of cutting edge computer vision technologies. So yeah.
No, I agree. And I think, if I can interpret this question slightly differently, I think perhaps although the question said VR, right? Augmented reality is obviously something that we are trying out, right? Whether it is try on makeup or try on furniture and see how it would look in your room setting, etc., can go a long ways in kind of building that trust and giving that comfort to the users, and also reduce returns and so on, right? Some of our speakers have talked about it in the past. So yes, we are certainly trying these things out. We are building technology in-house as well as through strategic acquisitions and so on. I'll take another question. QA bot with voice assistant could be easier if it could communicate in regional language. What about that idea? Absolutely. I think, it really makes a lot of sense. In terms of our roadmap, I would like to ask either Nishant or Meet. I mean, when are we going to make this happen? What are your thoughts about this, right?
Yeah, I think I'll go first, and Nishant, feel free to add anything that you want to add. No, I think question is right on the money. If you look at consumers, we have two deep insights. One is that they're very comfortable in the local national language, A. B is they do need help in terms of processing all the information they were throwing at them and deriving answers to the questions they have. I think if you put that in the intersection, chat was a interface that we have started with, but we want to naturally extend that to voice as well. And not only voice, where you can ask the question and see a readback of the answer, as well as see it on your phone app as well. Because remember, users are using a smartphone in front of them. So it's not only important to speak out the answer to them, but we need to use this display as well to communicate that information in the local language. So I think voice in vernacular languages combined with some of the solutions we're building to answer user questions, when they come together, this is when we'll be able to solve this need for a large number of users. And that is a focus for us over the next 6 to 9 months. And you'll be seeing those products at that intersection.
Nishant, you have anything to add, or should I just take the next question?
I just wanted to extend on that in terms of what we are trying to do is in that vision of building end-to-end assistant, we feel that, of course, it goes without saying that building assistant in the natural language is very, very important in the language to understand. But as far as the modality is concerned, we believe there could not be a single modality when it comes to giving that kind of assistance, right? And it would be a multimodal with tap, touch, the voice part of it, and the text part of it, the chat part of it. That has to come together, blend together, and that is the only way to enable a user to do all they want to do. Just for an example, right? If I were to say, right, a person who is sitting, let's say, in an open area, right, maybe walking down the aisle and surrounded by a lot of other people, and we are asking them, let's say, input their address or tell us about, let's say, enter the debit card, right? Now we can't expect them to speak out loud that in front of them, and we'd want them to be able to quickly able to type it and give that information to us while we enable the shopping and payment for them, right? So there would not be a single thing that this is the modality that works, and that's where we are trying to go towards. That is going to be a multimodal interface for us.
Makes sense, absolutely. Here's another question, right? In terms of assistants, what is the long-term vision? Do we see a fully automated personal assistant who can guide the consumer on the site, or will human in the loop be needed? I think it's a bit of a looking forward, looking in the crystal ball and predicting when AI will be commerce complete, to put it, right? I mean, when AI will be knowledgeable enough that we really don't need a human in the loop, right? I'm going to ask Nikesh. Nikesh, what's your best guess? When will we have bots that can fully answer all the queries? When will that future come?
Yeah, I think especially for Indian users, it's hard, right?
It's hard.
So I think the what's interesting though is that, I mean, look, we've been always been fascinated with this strong AI, right, where it's completely relying on machines and so on, right, and the Turing test and all of that and so on, right. It's still a challenge, but over time, right, we are I think the distribution, right, of questions that we can answer keeps automatically, it will keep on increasing, right? Of course, we'll not be able to 100%, right? Can we answer 80%? Can we go to 95, 90? Can we go to 95 and so on, right? That's how it will work. And also what will happen is that it is, there will basically be a hybrid model such that there always a back off to humans, right? But the question is, whenever that's happening, we are feeding back that to the model, right? So the model is learning. So next time when a user is asking that question, which the bot couldn't answer earlier, it will be able to answer now, right? So with this feedback loops in place, right, it will become increasing, the coverage for the bot will become increasingly more and more, right? So that's basically I would say, right, the hope that I have, right? Because every question answered by human will only improve the bot, right? And that's basically, we are already at a place where most of the, like the questions we are able to answer well, because it's limited domain. I would say, different people have kind of similar kind of questions and so on. But of course, Indian users are also quite demanding. As soon as, we are ultimately trying to replicate the experience of going to a shop, right? You're trying to go to a shop, you're trying to ask the person like, okay, show me this, something like this, and so on, right? And to be able to kind of get there, it's certainly a journey for us. Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you. And I think one of the remarks that you made really resonated with me is about how, as the technology improves, right, the expectation from the technology also always extends, right? We've seen that with web search, right? I remember back in 98 and 99, when we were using web search engines, we had very limited expectation, right? It was all about getting to that website through some keywords, right? Today, people ask so many questions to Google and other search engines, which are, one could even argue, are very subjective in nature, right? And not to mention, today people trust these web search engines with very sensitive topics, including medicine and so on and so forth. So I'm sure the same thing will happen here as well, but obviously we are still far away to reach to that point. Maybe I'll just take one last question, right? Talking about diversity, right? It feels like you have to focus on acquisition of new to internet customers, but what about retention of tech-savvy customers? For example, type of filters on various tech products are very limited. Or if you want to schedule delivery of my product 10 days from now. I think this is a great question. We'll be talking about next 500 million and next 200 million, right? Obviously, that doesn't mean that we are going to forget our existing user base, our loyal user base who are from metro tier 1 cities, and some of them are tech savvy, right? So maybe I'll ask Meet or Amit to answer this question. What more are we doing to keep the current set of tech-savvy users happy and making sure that they don't feel neglected? It's not just about next 200 million users, right?
I can go. No, go ahead, Amit. You go ahead.
No, go ahead, Meet. I'll add.
No, I think, Mayur, we know where the growth is coming for, but every user is sort of using Flipkart app to sort of browse and purchase. And their needs are equivalently important. We have a large team at Flipkart who really is focused on all different cohorts. You mentioned we have cohorts like N200 million, N500 million, but we also have our loyal entrenched customers on Flipkart who pretty much spend, who go to Flipkart for all their needs. And we have a dedicated team at Flipkart who's building for those loyal entrenched customers. We have programs like Super Coins, we have programs like Flipkart Plus, which is really giving a great set of value for our consumers in terms of exclusive access to early sales. In terms of every shopping that they do, they earn more coins, which can go back and be used to create better value for their future purchases, right? We have a lot of engagement constructs, which a lot of our entrenched users appreciate. We have games on our app, which is very intriguing value prop for these users, where they come here for shopping, but they don't mind coming and playing some of the trending games and being on the leaderboard, right? We have video suite, which is really more of video engagement with a lot of interactive shows going on. So I think if you look at the Flipkart as a platform, we have several offerings catered at different types of users, and we're really listening to our users in terms of what else they want. And that is driving our product roadmap and innovation in how we build for it. So I think that's my 2 cents. Amit, I'll let you comment.
And just to add to that, right, I think just to give a different perspective, as they say, right, when you build for India, you build for the world, right? In the same sort of direction, right? I feel that whenever you build for the next 500 million users, you are in a way building for the first 10 million users as well. I mean, just to take an example of voice assistant, right? I would like to just say to my Flipkart app, hey, reorder my last grocery basket, right? And just get done with it, right? Because my days are so busy, or my shopping lists over a period of time have become so boring and predictable, right? So I think my view is that everyone wants simplicity, speed, right? Convenience, right? I think the specificity in that question is, hey, can we have let's say filter facets or attributes, right, which are more relevant for certain segment of users? Guess what? Everyone would want that, right? Different people may use it in different contexts, and that is our endeavor always, right? I think the example that I took early on how we can auto derive some of the product attributes based on, let's say, imagery, or let's say the ratings reviews, or some of the questions that we have got from the customers, which either human or bot have answered in the past, which can help aid much easier discovery, right? And showcase that product to much broader customers who may be expressing their intent in various different ways. I think that is exactly what the technology really enables us to do. And our perspective has always been, we are disrupting commerce through technology. And I believe that technology is a great equalizer, right? Once you solve for a particular cohort, it automatically improves the user experience of a much broader cohort. So
thanks Amit, thanks Meet.
You just sorry, just wanted to weigh in. I'll take 10 seconds.
Yes.
Just wanted to weigh in on that. I think just taking Amit's point forward, I think what we also need to realize, what you were also talking about, that you bought a phone for a senior citizen in your family, right? Actually, in one household, you'll actually end up having both the cohorts existing under the same roof. And the idea is also to take both the cohorts together and have that conversation, getting instigated within these cohorts as well. So I think that's the convergence from a user point of view that I just wanted to bring to this question. Yeah.
Fair point. This is scintillating conversation, guys, and thank you so much to the panelists and also to the audience for being so engaged and for asking such great questions. But unfortunately, we are out of time, so I'll hand it back to Ambika. Ambika, over to you. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayur, for moderating, and a very, very special thank you to all our panelists from India for joining in. I know it's a little late and it's kind of dinner time, but thank you for joining in and sharing your fantastic insights with us. Thank you, Meet, Amit, Nikesh, Nishant, and Yamini. And again, thank you, Mayur.